Thank you for that very eloquent introduction and warning, of course, as well. So I'll speak maybe 15 minutes and then we'll ask His Holiness Ram Govinda Maharaj to address us and repair any damage I may have. But first of all, I like to know who I'm talking to, and I really can't recognize people. So one by one, you got to pull down the mask so I know who you are. Introduce yourself.
Yogeshwari, daughter of Namacharya. Daughter of Namacharya.
Of course, I know you. Always following me around. And then we have
Madhu Sneha.
Really? Yes, Madhu, yes. I did speak to you, didn't I? Yeah? All the way from Kenya. Kenya. And this? Haribol. You're the other half. And this is?
This is Tulsi Dassi.
Tulsi. Oh yes, of course. Yeah, you were supposed to come and see me.
Yuma Das.
Disciple
of His Holiness Baptista.
Don't say that. Then behind? Yes. Very nice. You have to be, I can't, because it's... That's what I want to be. I want to be a Vaishnavi. Ayendra. Oh, after my godbrother. Oh, really nice. I offer him respects all the time, Ayendra. I mean, that one. From Vrindavan, my senior godbrother.
Dear Govinda.
Acha. Haribol. Then we go to and the better half, best half, Nitai. I'm always praying to Nitai. Then from Santan, Acha Haribol. You got my email, didn't you? And then from Ukraine. What are you doing here then? Kharkov. Very nice. Imports. Then Haribol. Very nice to see you, yes. I like the glitter on the mask. Perhaps you can do it for me. And this is, yes, Haribol. Yes, very nice to see you. And Acha. Yes, I know you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Another import from Siberia. Haribol. This is. This is Acha. You can say Hare Krishna to the other half also. I know it's supporting you. And then this is
Rohini Kumar.
Ravina.
Rohini Kumar.
Oh, Rohini, you help with the. That's very good. And the back, yes. All right. The other half is good. Under control. Then I sense it's something to do with teeth. You're a very teethy person. Haribol, welcome. And then, yes, nice to see you, Rukmini Priya. And then we have the Prasad of Damodar. Huh?
Damodar Prasad.
Oh, Damodar Prasad. There you go, Damodar. Nice to see you. I'm waiting for that Prasad of Damodar. And then?
Hare Krishna Maharaj's Bhakti Rasa.
Yes. And?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Avish.
Avish. Oh, very nice to meet you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Ragavish.
Huh?
Ragavish.
Yes. Where's the expansion? Where? Huh? Very nice. Thank you all. Is that everyone? Oh, in the quiets. In the shadow. There we go. So we'll read a verse from Bhagavad Gita. We'll just say a few prayers. Namaram Vishnu Vedaya Krishna Vrishtai Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Vedasesha Samyodi Yaskachati Om Agena Tamarandasya Ganantana Salakaya Chakshurami Tasmin Sri Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sthapadami Amrutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhapadakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sakarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Tam Chikiram Sadvaitam Savritam Vrijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Padam Raghunatham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Kodishama Gurukanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnamastute Pranamami Hari Priya. All together, one Shakavarudhyasya Vivasivudhyasya Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasani Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So one of my favorite verses, chapter 18, text 57. Text 58. So let's say the Sanskrit. Machchita Savadurgani Mat Prasadat Rasyasi Atat Chetum Ahankaram Nashrosyasi Nakasyasi Machchita Savadurgani Mat Prasadat Rasyasi Tachitam Ahankaram Nashrosyasi Nakasyasi. English translation. This is chapter 18, text 58. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Please repeat. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but acts with false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend, who always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego, the bodily concept of life. So, Prabhupada is saying a person in Krishna consciousness should not be unduly anxious about their existence. So we have this word kuntha and the word vaikuntha. Kuntha means place of anxiety or anxiety. Vaikuntha, VI, means no anxiety. So the material world is a place of anxiety, no doubt. And wherever we go, we see anxiety. Whether it's Midrand, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's America, Mauritius, even from a material perspective, India now, we see anxiety. So the only place where there's no anxiety is Vaikuntha, and that's the spiritual world. So that's our ultimate destination. But we're not there. We are here. We want to go there, but we are here. We may have our ticket. We have our ticket. We have our visa. We haven't boarded the plane. If you have a ticket and you have a visa and you want to fly to Vrindavan, then what's the next step? Go to the airport. You don't go to the stock exchange or the nightclub. You know, the aircraft doesn't leave from there, but it leaves from the airport. So these temples are like airports. ISKCON Midrand, ISKCON Santan, Radha Maritzburg. We're in the right place. Definitely we're in the right place. And we have to be a little patient, a little patient, and we'll also get to the place of no anxiety. But in the meantime, we're stuck here a little, and there is anxiety. So, just like at an airport, sometimes the flights are delayed. So sometimes our leaving is delayed somewhat. It's somewhat delayed. But the flight will leave, definitely. So the anxieties of this material world are all due to this body. Every anxiety is due to this material body. Brahma Bhuvana Loka, Apuna Avatana, Mamu Petya. From the highest planet to the lowest planet, all places of misery, wherein repeated what? Birth, death, coronavirus, and old age. Repeated. So they come and disturb us. As it were, they rock the boat. So our lives are being a little bit rocked. But if we continue practicing Krishna consciousness, then everything will work out. So, difficulties will always be there. There's nothing we can do about it. Materialists, they try to decrease their difficulties, increase their enjoyment. But the scriptures, they tell us that you already have a certain amount of material enjoyment coming to you. It's already there. And you have a certain amount of material suffering. And you can't change it. But by devotional service, it can be changed. So we're engaging in devotional service. So difficulties. Vipada. Is that in Hindi? Vipada. Vipada, difficulties. Durgami, I said in that verse. Remember the verse? Machchita Sava Durgani. From the word Durga, meaning Durgani here, I think it means impediments. That's right, impediments. So there'll always be there, these obstacles, these apparent reversals. But we have to push them aside and continue in our sadhana bhakti. And these impediments, they'll be different according to our age, according to our position. Sometimes, like, this is Vaishnavi, right? How old are you?
11 years old.
11. So what's your main concern or problems in life? Is it getting married? No. Is it getting a job? No. Is it, what would it be?
School.
School. Yes, school. Now I ask Damodar Prasad, are you bothered about school? No, you're not bothered about school. You've passed that phase. But for her, that's the moment now is school. And then you get older, it's a different type of school, university. There was an article I read in India where every day, every 1 hour, a student commits suicide in India because of the intense pressure to study. It's very intense in India. Of course, it's intense here, but in India, the pressure to study, family pressure, peer pressure. So these students, they snap and they commit suicide. So every 1 hour, there's a suicide. That's how big it is. We think, well, it's not a big thing about going to school, but we read about bullying. You know about bullying? Goes on, and then people send funny SMS messages to. So this is school, and then there's higher school, that's college, and university. That's if you get in. And then after that, what problem will enter your mind? A job. You know, how to get a job. Very difficult, how to get a job. And then would come emotional relationships between men and women. My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, he wrote to me the other day, and he said, when I was young, I had a lot of problems, a lot of pain. And he said, from ladies. I joined the movement, so I didn't know. I joined when I was 20 and he was 18, but apparently some people get quite affected by these relationships, and these relationships break up. So that's a problem. And then, of course, when the marriage does happen, you have something called the in-laws. The in-laws, the jatilas, the kotilas, they're there in Vrindavan. Kotila is walking around with a stick, looking for Krishna. Jatila is always spreading rumors. Now that's where it all comes from, actually. That's from the spiritual world. It filters down here into Midrand, Durban, Johannesburg. So you got the in-laws. They said that, what was that, Rama? You can stop picking your nose, but you can't pick your in-laws. Not that anyone would want to pick their nose, of course, in public. So, in-laws, that's a whole thing. Sometimes it goes sweetly, sometimes it doesn't, and problems. And then we expand, we have the children. And that's a cause of great concern and attachment. Children, taking them to school, picking them up, are they doing all right? And the parents, they feel the success, so-called material success and failure of the children more than the child does. Would you agree? If a child comes last in an exam, it's the parents that feel it more. Usually the child, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, not so much concerned. I remember when I was very young, I was about 8 years old, I ran in a race. There was a 100-meter dash. And you know what? I came last. I'm a long-distance runner. So I came last. So my mother saw me, I was so disappointed, she went and bought me a present. She went and bought me a little dinky toy. Dinky toy. So then, as one gets older, there is the health thing. This is very prominent, especially, over 30, over 40, would you say, the health issue? And the body starts to decompose. Shakespeare, Willie Shakespeare, from good old England said, old age with its clawing steps, old age with its stealing steps has clawed me in its clutch. Before you know it, you're old. And then it becomes very difficult. Actually, I wanted to also dedicate this little gathering we have to our godbrother, His Grace Pankajanya Prabhu, who is apparently in Sridham Mayapur now under the shelter of Nishingadev and Radha Madhava, but he may well leave his body. I'm just going to digress a little. When I last saw Pankajanya Prabhu, he heard about my bad health and he wanted to do a prayer to Lord Nishingadev for me. I think he tends to do that for everyone. Did he do a prayer for you from Lord Nishingadev?
But does anyone request?
Anyone, yeah. He's right up there with Lord Nishingadev. And then I said, when did you join? And he asked me. I said 1973 in London. So that was when Prabhupada came for the Rath Yatra. So at that time, Pankajanya was working on the Rath Yatra cart. So he wasn't living in the temple, but he was helping to make the Jagannath cart. And that's when Prabhupada came and danced in Trafalgar Square. And then 6 months later I came to South Africa, so I'm speculating, but I think he went to join his brother, Janani Mas, probably in 1974. I think that's how it worked out. So we offer our prayers and best wishes to Pankajanya Prabhu. Our prayer is that he doesn't experience too much pain. Death is inevitable. Prabhupada has said, what is the problem with death? A few days more, a few days before. Cannot avoid death. All of us sitting here in this room, we will die. And we're very stupid if we don't think about this or ignore it. So, Pankajanya will leave his body. It may be within the next few days, but within the next few years, I think, and many of Prabhupada's disciples, like Bhakti True Maharaj, they will leave. Of course, they're still present. Spiritually, they're still present. It's just we cannot see their bodies. They're still present. This is the wonderful nature of spiritual life. So we shouldn't be too disturbed about the tricks of nature. We call it the tricks of Maya. And this coronavirus is simply a trick of Maya. It's a very clever trick because people are very depressed. Would you agree? We're depressed. We don't have the disease. We're nowhere near the disease, but we're diseased. We're depressed. We can't go out. We can't go and paddle in Durban and Blue Lagoon or something. We can't meet the family members. Now it's easier, I think, but a couple of months before we couldn't socialize. So we don't have the disease, but still there's ramifications of it, and it's depression, people becoming disturbed. That's the nature of this age of Kali. You know, in America, there's something called seasonal depression. So can anyone tell me what is seasonal depression? Kunja?
Miraj, it's people that develop an episode of depression when the season changes, specifically in winter.
She's a psychiatrist. So she would know. So the seasons change and people get depressed. And I've read it's mostly when it goes into winter. It's not when it becomes spring or summer, it's more winter. So people get depressed because of the weather. There was one devotee, a nun kirtan in Ukraine, and he told me that in Ukraine during the winter months he gets so depressed because you don't see the sun. We see the sun every day. But a couple of years ago in Moscow, there was 6 minutes of sun for the whole month of December. That's it, finished. One whole month, there was 6 minutes of sun. 6 minutes of sun. And this depresses people, this thick cloud. Of course, people get used to it also, but still, so this is seasonal depression. So many types of depression, they come to us. So really the only thing to do is to chant God's name. We have to chant Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. This helps us break through the depression and the bodily concept. And the idea I'm suffering and my family is suffering and it's such a struggle. We can get bogged down by all these things. And therefore people commit suicide. People do. In America, 130 people every day commit suicide. Throughout the world, World Health Organization estimate 1 million, which is 2,739 every day. It's interesting how I have all these figures on my hand, isn't it? It's because I spend hours on Google. No, certain things I remember. So, anyhow, we have to chant Krishna's holy name. Of course, there will be obstacles for that. My arm is aching. My jaw is aching. I have trigeminal neuralgia. And my jaw starts to ache when I chant out loud. Often I have to whisper my rounds. So then what I use is earplugs. I have custom-made earplugs. And then you can hear a lot easier when you whisper. The body will complain, the mind will object, the mind will scream at us and produce something called shamshaya. What is shamshaya? You can tell me. Shamshaya. Doubt. Doubt is the enemy. Doubt in the holy name. doubt in the Guru, doubt that Krishna is really protecting you. We're suffering and we think, well, maybe Krishna doesn't know, maybe he just forgot about me, living here in Midrand. He's protecting everyone else or the other, but not me. So some doubt comes in our process, Guru Parampara, doubt. And this is the enemy of spiritual life. So now let me ask you, what is the opposite? What is the opposite of doubt?
Faith.
Faith. And faith is the very beginning of devotional service. You know that word, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Nata Nivritti. Without faith you can't move an inch. Faith has to be there. At first it's a little Kamala. Anyone here has the name Kamala? What would Kamala mean? Kamala is a lotus. What is a lotus famous for being? Soft. So for a flower, nice to be soft. But if your faith is soft and pliable, bad. So you have Kamala Shraddha. You have pliable faith. It's not strong. It's not substantial. Someone needs strong faith. Then this faith brings you to the association of devotees. So that's called Sadhu Sangha. Actually, the first step is Sadhu Sangha, then Shraddha, and then Sadhu Sangha again. How is that? I'll explain. The first Sadhu Sangha is you didn't know, but you went to Ivory Park or Soweto or somewhere and someone gave you a sweet and it was prasad. Rath Yatra in Maritzburg or Nairobi, and you get some prasad. But you don't know. It's called a gyata sukriti. You give a donation for a book. You're not interested, but you just want to get rid of the person. The person, like a mosquito. You know how they are. They distribute books, we insist. Or you hear the holy name. Oh, I'll give you an example. Gyata Sukriti. There was one doctor, and he was living in Durban. I forget where he was living. And he was at R.K. Khan's hospital. So to get to R.K. Khan's hospital, he had to drive past the temple. So every day for years, he would see the temple. Then this accumulated, and eventually he thought, well, let me come and see what's inside it. So he went inside the temple, and he actually became a devotee. So it accumulated, the Gyata Sukriti. So the first Sadhu Sangha is unknown. It's unknown. And then that increases, and that increases your Shraddha, and then you make a conscious effort. I will now go to the Midrand temple, the Santan temple. I will now go to Radha Phoenix. So now you're consciously doing Sadhu Sangha, like all of you sitting here. Did you come here by mistake? No, you came to see Rama Govinda, and you're all very smart. Unfortunately, I turned up also. Something like a bad penny. You know what I mean? Like a bad penny. A bad English penny also. So, Sadhu Sangha. Now you're associating, but you know what you're doing, and you like it, and you go out of your way to do it. And you go to India, to Vrindavan and Mayapur, and you go to the Rath Yatra. And then in the association of devotees, you begin to hear things. The four don'ts. No meat, no fish, no eggs, no illicit sex. No intoxication. No poker and blackjack. Yes, you begin to learn don'ts and then the do's. Chant Krishna's holy name every day. And then you gradually make advancement. And this is the gift. So we have to continue on this path. Although the obstacles may be there. That's not correct. The obstacles may be there. The obstacles will definitely be there. Isn't it? Obviously there's going to be obstacles. Like coronavirus or so many in-laws or money problem. Has to be there. But we have to just push forward and not become bewildered. So this is done by thinking of Krishna. And the best way to think of Krishna in the Kali Yuga is to what? Chant.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Nama Bas, Nama Parad, Nama Bas, Shuranam. Purify our chanting. So thank you very much. I'm not going to speak for too long. We'll ask His Holiness Ram Govinda Maharaj to speak something to enlighten us. And then we'll have a short kirtan. And then those that want to just speak with me briefly can. You're welcome to. And then tomorrow will come. So I'll ask His Holiness Ram Govinda Maharaj to speak something now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Here Maharaj and Maharaj, they need to speak. Hearing from Vaishnava is very important. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Vishnu Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Achyajganesha Sarani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna to all the wonderful devotees of the Lord. Very fortunate living entities come to the devotional service. Not everybody will come. Those who preach, they go and preach, but not everybody will take up. Krishna's mercy is available to everyone, but up to the individual who want to take the mercy. The winter inside the room very cold, but outside the sun, nice sunny there. If I want to go outside, sunlight I can take warmth, but I don't know, very cold inside. Who can help? So Lord's mercy is available, but how to invoke the mercy of the Lord, how to get more mercy from the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, out of how many verses are there in Bhagavad Gita? 700. Only 2 verses Krishna repeated. Every instruction in it, that is how great it is. One in the 9th chapter, 34 verse, and 18th chapter, if I am not wrong, 55th verse. That is, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyali mahamashkaso mameshwari. The entire essence of devotional service, preaching of Krishna is in this verse. Always think of me. Doesn't cost anything. We don't have to pay any money. Manmana mad bhakta, become a devotee. Every one of you are devotees. That's why you are here. Madhyadi, worship me. We all are worshipping the Lord all the time. Namaskara, we are paying obeisances. If you do this for Lord itself, you will come to me. And just like just now, Guru Maharaj just given a very wonderful instruction. So if you, Krishna also said that if you stick to the 4 principles of devotional service, you will come to me. So why the bhakti is required? That also Krishna says in 2 verses. 11:54 and 18th chapter also. 65. Krishna can be known only by the devotional service, not anyone. We may read it, but no guarantee that we know Krishna. Krishna to be known in tattva, philosophically in truth, that is by devotional service. You all remember Krishna shown universal form to Arjuna. After that he has shown his 400 form as a request of Arjuna. He wanted to see that beautiful form of 400 form. Universal form is not beautiful, very fearful form. Srila Prabhupada writes that this universal form is only for the neophytes, not for the devotees. But the devotees, 200 form is most beautiful, 400 form, yogis. Okay. After that, when Lord Krishna very clearly mentioned that Naham Vedaina Tapasa Nadani Chejya Shakyevam Vido Društva Natimam Yatha. Hey Arjuna, the one, what you have seen, the universal form and 400 form of mind, cannot be seen by study of the Vedas, means Jnana Yoga. Yajna, by performing the yajna is not possible. By performing the austerity is not possible. Chejya, by doing the worship also not possible. So how it is possible? Next verse 54 he says that Bhaktya tunanyaya shakya ahamevo vidurjana jnatum drashtum cha tattvena pravishtum cha parantapa. Swa is a very important. Srila Prabhupada stress on the word Swa. Only by the devotional service, bhakti, one can, ananya shakya, there is no other possibility of seeing me without other than the bhakti. Only by the devotional service you will see me, jnatam, you will know me. And then once you know Krishna, then you will see. And after that we will enter into the wonderful transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Means you go back to home. And before conclusion of the Bhagavata, final instruction, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, before that Krishna says, again repeats the same instruction. You all know when children go into school, mother will say, don't talk to new people. Because that is very important instruction for the new people, children to say that don't talk to the new people, don't go with them. Wait for your father comes and take me. And similarly, Krishna wants to also say that only by the bhakti, devotional life, service, you will know him. That's why just before conclusion of instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna repeats the same instruction. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyajjati tattva tato mam tattvato jnata visiti anantaram. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. You will know me only by the abhijanati, only by the process of devotional service. So how to know? Tattvataha. You have to know in Tattva Krishna. Okay. Knowing Krishna in truth is very essential. In the 4th chapter also, while Krishna was explaining to Arjuna, Krishna said very clearly that Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvataha. So one has to try to understand Krishna in tattva, that understanding Krishna in tattva, philosophy in truth. What is the tattva? Krishna is good, Supreme Lord. And what is tattva? Is absolute truth. Okay? The first verse of the Bhagavatam ending is what is the verse? Anybody remember? Janma tyasya taha itaratas. And what is the last word? Satyam Param Dhimi. So what is that Satyam Param Dhimi? Absolute truth, what is that? So for that, to understand what is absolute truth, we have to know Krishna by Tattva. The definition of absolute truth you will find in the 10th canto, 2nd chapter, where the demigods are offering prayers to Krishna. When they were in the womb of mother, the first verse of their prayer is definition of absolute truth. Satya Vratam Satya Param Satyam Satyasya Yogi. So knowing the Krishna in Tattvata philosophically truth means knowing Krishna, absolute nature of Krishna. And that's the absolute nature of Krishna can be understood only by the devotional service, not philosophical. They know the lot of things in the philosophical. Scripture gives. Having the knowledge and feeling, understanding, feeling that knowledge is different. So that feeling that knowledge of Krishna is possible by the devotional service. Because devotional service alone gives the accepting the authority. That's why it's a preposterous, we must serve. Why? If I don't serve, I don't take up to devotional service, I'm not surrendering. And without surrendering, there is no humility. And without no humility, we cannot understand Krishna. I don't have the humility means I am subject to false ego. That's why Prabhupada writes in the 3rd verse of the Chaitanya Siddhastakam that this verse must be always hanged in the neck. Pranada Sunike Nataro. These are the fundamental requirements for the devotional service also. So important instruction Krishna gives is that only we can know Krishna and we can enter into the pastimes of Krishna, or we can go back home, back to spiritual world, Vaikuntha, Guru, Vrindavan, and by the process of devotional service, nothing else. This is the most important instructions of Govinda. Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Parthasarth Maharaj ki jai.
His Holiness Rama Govinda Maharaj ki jai. So we'll have a short kirtan. All right. And we're dedicating this to Janari Prabhu. Of course, there may be others. I did hear that Govinda Maharaj had something, but then they say good news, no news is good news. So we didn't hear any more. And then something about Bhakti Maharaj also. But definitely it seems that Janari Prabhu, His Grace, it would appear he's about to leave his body. So of course there's no loss. We can dedicate our chanting to him and possibly others that we have in our mind. Hoping that, praying, not hoping, they will return to the spiritual world is my honest opinion, and also realization through bhajan that these Vaishnavas will take birth. It's confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Tumi Vaikuntha Paitava. They'll take birth in Vaikuntha Vrindavan. So 5 minutes. Thank you very much.